Uh, Good morning. This is Joe Fosco with the Joe Fosco Show. I'm here with recurring guest Michael Magnafichi.
Good morning, Joseph.
Good morning. How are you, Michael?
Good, I'm good. How about yourself?
Good, great.
Yeah,
Can't complain about too much.
No.
No one cares anyway, so why bother?
Well, somebody cares.
I guess.
You may not know who it is, but somebody does care.
Maybe.
Somebody always cares.
Sure, absolutely. So how how have our sports looked this past weekend?
Obviously, the Cubs are the main topic here. Lost a heartbreaker last night. I don't know if you watched the game last night or Saturday night's game. Saturday night game was one for the ages. That was a very exciting game. Probably one of the most exciting baseball games I've ever seen, especially postseason game. The way they won that game was just unbelievable. They, as you probably know, they hit a grand slam in the eighth inning, the bottom of the eighth, to take a 7-3 lead. Very interesting coaching, managing went on there. Roberts, the coach of the Dodgers, he intentionally walks the bases loaded with 2 out just to force Joe Madden to make a managerial change to get Chapman out of the game because he was due up to bat. That's the race in the bullpen. And I don't know if everybody seems to agree with all the things I've watched or heard. All the analysts agree with what he did, that was a good managing way to go. I just don't understand loading the bases when you always take the chance of having somebody be walked in for the lead run. It's not like they were up 2 runs, to get the ace out of there. I don't understand that, but what do I know? I'm here and they're in the dugouts. But he wound up walking them, and they pinched hit for him, and they put Montero in with a 0-2 count. 0-2 count. He hits a grand slam, make the game 7-3, puts it out of reach. It was a very exciting game. I guess people that were at Wrigley, I heard all kinds of commentary watching news channels and stuff, that they said the place was just electrified. They never saw Wrigley go so crazy.
Yeah,
and they got quieted down last night with a 1-0 game.
Sure. Well, keeps everyone humble.
Yeah, I'm not concerned. I'm not panicked. Concerned, I would say, about their, what's going to happen here. But we knew we were going to face Kershaw one of these games. That's LA Dodgers ace. And we got him in Wrigley, which I thought we had a chance. I didn't think he was going that he would be going till they got back to LA. And he wound up pitching last night, and he pitched a hell of a game, pitched 7 innings, 2-hit ball. And the Cubs just haven't been hitting, Joe. They haven't. They've been, I think they're under 200, their batting average for this whole playoffs. Even against San Francisco, they got 6 RBIs out of their pitching staff hitting. Their pitchers were actually hitting as good as they were. But I think the bats will wake up. Rizzo's like 1 for 27 or something like that through the playoffs, and he's going to wake up. The only one that's really been hitting is Baez and what's his name, Chris Bryant.
Right.
But they're going to wake up. I'm not, like I say, I'm not panicked. I thought the Cubs would win it in 5. I figured the Dodgers would get 1 game out there. I don't know if they're going to sweep them out there, win 3, but I think that they'll win 2 out of 3, come back to Wrigley, close it out in 6. I don't think it'll go 7 games. I really don't. And I think it looks like we're going to be playing Cleveland. They're up 2-0. Of course, you go back to Toronto for 3, and Toronto could win out there. They've proven that before. And but it'll be an exciting series if the Cubs do, in fact, get into the World Series, which I believe they will, and Cleveland does. Cleveland just won their first championship in 50-something years this past basketball season with the Cavaliers, and it'll be exciting to see them. They actually have won a World Series. I think in 1948 was their last one. Cubs were in the World Series in 45. I think Cleveland's last World Series was 48. So they haven't won one in 58 plus years or 68 plus years, something like that. And it'll be exciting to see. It'll be a good 2 classic baseball cities, Cleveland and Chicago.
Absolutely.
I'd be exciting to see that one. Toronto going to Canada to play. I don't know if anybody's in for that. I don't think it'll be that exciting, but the exciting part is the Cubs getting in the World Series.
Exactly.
So I'm excited about that. I watched a lot of football yesterday.
So what are your thoughts?
Well, the Bears are just terrible.
Yeah.
I
What else
watched
is
it.
new?
Yeah, they Jaguars beat them up. Lose 17-16 by a point. I mean, that's ridiculous. But I didn't expect much from the Bears this year. I figured they'd be a 6-10 team at best, you know. And right now, I think that's in jeopardy, that they'll even be that, you know, that good. You know, they just don't look that good to me at all. You know, they got quarterback issues. I watched the Dallas Green Bay game. I'm a fan of Aaron Rodgers, and he just doesn't look good either. You know, and that kid from Dallas that's replaced Tony Romo, that Dak Prescott, he might be rookie of the year and most valuable player. I mean, this guy's got Dallas 5-1. It's unbelievable what he's doing for a rookie. They just threw his first interception yesterday. You know, and that's just unheard of for a rookie. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's going to be exciting to see. And this guy went in the third or fourth round, I believe. He went in the draft this year. How did the Bears pass up on him? They had 3 picks in the fourth round, and they're obviously looking for a quarterback because you don't see them, you know, having a future with Cutler. Mm-hmm. How did they pass on this guy? Of course, every NFL team did, you know, that he went down to the fourth round, you know, and they got Cutler for what, $75 million is his contract. This guy here's they're paying Dallas is paying him $650,000 for a year. I mean, what a steal, mm-hmm. You know. But NFL just looks. I'm getting disgusted with all this stuff with the cameras are always on the celebrations more than they are on the game. You know, following that Odell Beckham with the Giants, that he's proposing to the kicking net that he hit it a couple games ago and got hit in the head with it. Now he's sitting there on his knees proposing to the kicking net like he's making a proposal to it, like he's making up with it. It's just ridiculous. It really is. But the NFL's down this year with audience. You know, with the audience, they're not getting as many high ratings as they used to. Mm-hmm. They're blaming it a lot on the election. You know, that has something to do with it. On some of the nights sure. that the election is on, when the games are on, Monday Night Football.
The debates,
the debates, right,
had something to do with it.
Right.
At least the first debate was on a Monday. It went head on with Monday Night Football, which I thought.
Right. I was flicking back. Even I, as a absolute sports fan, even I flicked back and forth to it to see what was what. Did you watch the election at all? I mean, the debate at all?
Sure.
Yeah. Yes. What was your take
on both? Well, there were 2 so far, and the first one. I mean, I guess my viewpoint is consistent with what the general consensus is, which is Hillary probably did slightly better than he did, and I don't know if you'd perhaps call it a draw at the second debate, and we'll see what happens this Wednesday.
What do you think about all the stuff about him harassing women and all his peculiar behavior and stuff?
It's the Clintons are very good at deflecting and trying to destroy the opponent,
right?
More so than voicing their policy and accepting some of the responsibility for what they have done. I find it a bit suspicious that a man who's been in the public light, the limelight, as you will, for 30 or 40 years, around hundreds, if not thousands, of beautiful women, and he's now running for president. He's within a few weeks from Election Day. And he faces all of these sudden charges or accusations.
What did he call it, locker room talk?
He called it locker room talk. I think it would have probably been better referred to as guy talk.
Right.
Since we can now see how people are tearing apart the phrase locker room talk. Well, it's guy talk. And
that's what goes on in a locker room.
And it's what goes on anywhere
right.
When you have some guys sitting around and they're talking, and maybe some are egotistical, others are more well-wishing that they can, conquer different situations, romantic situations, and have different conquests. And, it's just, it's been going around for, this has been happening for thousands of years.
Do you think that they knew about all this anyway, and this is just perfect timing for them to bring it up? Or I thought that
I would say that's a fair assessment.
Just didn't come across their lap now is what I'm thinking.
I would say it's a fair assessment.
Yeah.
And again, there's bigger things to be talking about. more important things to be talking
Right.
about than something
Well, I know that Tom Brady,
that has
the
very little
quarterback for
credibility.
the, excuse me, sorry for interrupting you.
That's
Tom
all right.
Brady for the New England Patriots, they had a thing on him several weeks ago that, well, not several weeks ago, but like prior to they were showing a picture of his locker, and he had a hat, ball cap in the top of his locker that said Trump on it. So he's definitely, he was, behind Trump, and he's
Sure.
definitely on his side. But they've asked him since, and he has not commented on it
see.
at all. But he was suspended for 4 games. He's lighting it up out there. I forgot to get into that. New England, I think, is going to be the toughest team, and they're going to be a tough out. I mean, they always are. But I mean, what he's done in his first 2 games back after a 4-game suspension, this guy's thrown for almost 800 yards, 7 touchdowns.
Sure.
I mean, and he's just lighting it up. I don't think that I think he's got a grudge against the NFL for the suspension over that Deflategate, which you remember, that was 2 Super Bowls ago, over the deflated footballs, in case our viewing audience doesn't know what I'm talking about. And they made such a big deal out of it. It's supposed to be a $25,000 fine for the team. They paid $1 million, the New England Patriots
I remember
did.
very well.
$1 million, and he gets suspended for 4 games.
Right.
And I think he's just really going to just take it out on the NFL, just destroy teams, especially the team that they will play them, the Colts. They're the ones that blew the whistle on them during that playoff game. And if I recall, that game was close in the first half when they said that the 11 of the 12 balls were underinflated. Well, in the second half, he just went out and they beat them 45-7. So with the regular footballs that they said were deflated, they put the regular ones in, and he just destroyed them after that. So I don't know what that mattered. And he went on to win the Super Bowl that year. So, but New England's going to be a tough out. They're going to be a tough out. Denver, they got a good defense. They have no quarterbacks, but all the talk about these quarterbacks. The NFL in Week 6, you could sit there and anoint somebody you think is going to be a great team, a great player. It's such a small sample size right now.
Sure.
You really don't know. Another 5 weeks from now, we'll be talking about somebody else that came in for an injured player and is doing great. But it's just getting a little. Thursday night games are a little unwatchable for me. I mean, I find it hard to even view the whole thing because it's just a terrible display. I mean, a terrible product they're putting on the field. And that's not the only reason why the ratings are down. They're down because of what's going on out there. They're not. Too much emphasis on non-football issues, celebrations in the end zone. So what? Let them do what they want. What do you care? They're giving out $25,000 fines for guys twerking in the end zone, doing gyrations with their body that they say are offensive and stuff like that. It's ridiculous.
I'm surprised.
Yeah, it really is.
Well, I think as you said it earlier, once the election is behind us in early November, I think football become a little more focused on.
Right. Well, they could sit there and say all they want about the ratings being down. It's certainly not hurting their pockets. They made over $9 billion, the NFL did last year.
Yes.
So, I mean, you could take a little hit in the ratings as long as the profits are still there. They're still there.
Sure.
I mean,
right.
$9 billion. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, it's great. And
but I think. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
What do we have? We covered baseball and football. I think that's about it. For
Yeah,
sports
everything
this
else.
week.
Well, basketball preseason. Little excitement about the Bulls this year with Dwayne Wade out there and Rondo. They're going to be in the playoffs, I imagine. And but Cleveland's still the beast in the East. I don't know anybody that's going to beat them. The Bulls. I mean, Dwayne Wade's old now. But they'll probably be a 4 seed, maybe a 5 seed in the playoffs. They maybe win the first round, get ousted in the semis. But they'll be exciting to see. Dwayne Wade, a Chicago guy.
Right.
Good to see him in there. We got the hockey, on right now, and obviously the Hawks are still tough, and they always will be. But that's about it. Golf, Tiger Woods was supposed to play this week. He bowed out. He bowed out before, He made a statement saying that he felt vulnerable. In other words, he doesn't want to go out there and, crap up the place and not make the cut. And you don't hear Tiger Woods saying, I'm vulnerable, I don't want to play. Michael Jordan would never do that. I don't feel good. I'm not on my game. I don't feel like playing. He'd go out there and play. If he did bad, he did bad. I'd be sorry to be the team that wanted him to play good against them, But so he said he's going to come back in another 2 weeks. I I don't think we'll ever see Tiger like we used to.
I see.
And golf is.
Is that more of the mental part
Oh,
of it?
physically he's
or
beat up.
is
His
it
surgeries
physically?
he's had.
It's just his body.
His
is
body broke down on
compromised,
him.
yeah.
It's compromised.
So he's well over that whole split up thing. I mean, everything. I mean,
with the wife.
Yeah, I know. It's been a long time.
It's been a
but
long time. I
it
don't think
hasn't
that's an
scarred
issue
him.
anymore.
I see. That's good.
I don't think it ever was.
Yeah.
You know,
I see.
I think it was more an issue for his sponsors that dumped him after that. But I don't see it was a problem for him. But golf, you know, the rating, you talk about ratings and, you know, TV ratings and stuff, golf is definitely down without him in there. I mean, people could say what they want. He's the reason that golf became so exciting to watch was because of him.
Right.
And it wasn't because he had so many fans and followers. There was an equal amount of people that never watched golf before that wanted to watch it just to see him lose because they didn't like him, you know, for whatever their reasons were, you know. And they had equal amount of people watching him that never watched golf before to see him stink it up, and he didn't, you know.
Right.
And the purses are bigger because of him.
Sure.
You know, so golf wants him back. I'd like to see him back. You know, I'm an admirer of talent. I'm a golfer myself, and he's one of the best I've ever seen.
Have you golfed since the last time I asked you?
No, I haven't. I haven't played. I'd usually be winding it down this time of year anyway.
I see.
You know, weather would always.
You haven't been any golf outings this year?
No, not
even
one.
to have a cup of coffee or a beer or anything?
No, not even. Not even. Haven't played hardly at all. A few times.
Right.
That's about it. I miss it a lot. But I'm like Tiger. I'm vulnerable right now.
Right.
I'm not going to go out there and stink it up.
Right.
I could care less about that.
I think the last golf outing I was in attendance was the one we were together at the Unico golf outing
Oh, at St. Andrews.
at St. Andrews out in West Chicago,
Right.
the suburb of West
That
Chicago.
was a long time ago.
That's when all of the Cleveland guys were in town. That had to be back in 2002, I think.
Oh, yeah. You got a good memory, yeah.
2002. Well, a lot of things happened quickly or immediately after that.
Yeah.
That makes me remember the
Makes you
year
remember
very
it.
well. But speaking of that part of things, we have a viewer, Mr. His name's Eric. I don't remember Moyer or something. I'm sorry if I'm not saying the name correctly. I don't have it in front of me. But he did ask a question
Okay.
last week that I thought would be good for you to answer during today's show. And he wanted to know what the relationship or the rapport was like between Anthony Accardo, also known as Joe B or JB, and your former boss and late friend Jack Cerrone, the late Jack Cerrone, confidant Tony Cap, which was Tony Capizzi or Capizio?
Capizio.
Yeah, Capizio. So Tony Cap, the question is, what was the rapport between Tony Cap and Joe B?
Well, I really don't know what the rapport was.
Well,
with
you
him.
were
I heard a story.
born after Cap died, so you don't have any eyewitness
I think Cap
accountability.
died in the middle 50s, didn't he? Or
Probably somewhere around there. And
Right.
but you've had some very good exposure to conversations
about him.
between people that were there.
Right.
So what's your recollection or?
Well, I remember a story one time at the golf course. We were talking. I was with my dear friend Johnny Haircuts. He's passed on, obviously, and he was close with Tony Capizio.
Yeah, sure.
He used to bum with him and stuff, and we were sitting at the table. Actually, we were waiting for Jack. Jack was taking a steam and getting a massage. His back was acting up on him, so he was downstairs at the Brookwood Country Club.
Right.
And
Yeah, that was in what suburb was that?
Wooddale.
Wooddale, Illinois. Okay,
Right.
thank you.
And Haircuts was telling a story about Cap, that they were in some bar in Melrose Park, and that he was, he liked to drink. He was a big drinker.
Cap.
Yeah, Cap
Yeah,
was.
of course.
And he was telling JB the story, Haircuts was, and he said,
So JB was telling Haircuts the story?
no, Haircuts was telling JB the
Okay,
story.
thanks. I'm sorry, I got confused somewhere.
Yeah, and he was saying, he was saying, that Cap, when he drank, how he got, and JB said, who are you talking about? And he says, Tony Capizzi. He said, oh, that fucking crazy son of a bitch. That's how he referred to him. And he told a story of how Cap bit the head off a dead chicken or something like that, and had his jaw locked up, and Haircuts had to pry his jaw open to get the head out of his mouth. Now, If it's true or not, I don't know. Obviously, I wasn't there. I wasn't even born. But JB just referred to him as, oh, that crazy son of a bitch. You know,
sure.
That's how he.
Was it an endearing, crazy son of a bitch? Like, let's say you and I were good friends with Jim Belushi.
Right.
And we would sit around and talk about that crazy son of a bitch.
Right.
Or was it as if he was talking about Jeffrey Dahmer?
No, I think he was talking about like it was
crazy son of a bitch,
it was an endearing.
It was an endearing crazy son of a bitch.
Well, obviously
yeah.
it was. I mean, because he was around and
Well,
died of natural death.
That explains something.
Right.
It sounds like it was a reasonable rapport. Then,
Right.
you know?
He probably wasn't his cup of tea. He
Right.
probably drank too much, and we all know that Joe B didn't drink. He might have caroused a little bit where Joe B didn't. I mean, I don't know. I'm just assuming these things, and but it was an endearing, that crazy son of a bitch, And he obviously knows him for all his life,
Of course.
And he's in that picture, that one famous picture. You've seen it 1,000
We
times.
talked about that last week, and
Yeah.
as you recall, I mentioned there's a lot of dispute over whether or not that is him.
I don't know.
Even though we know someone that knew Cap very well who claims it was him.
Claims it was him.
Some of the experts are saying, and the mobologists, if that's I don't know if it's a proper term, but everyone knows what I mean. Apparently, or it's been claimed that they've talked to family members who say
shouldn't be
that
hard to get a
that
picture
was
of him.
not him. And I think they did comparisons with pictures and found that in their opinion it was not him. So who knows?
Well, that was taken before 1931, because that's when Capone went to jail.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if they're comparing pictures from 1928 or 29, whenever it was, to now, I mean, nobody
Right.
looks like they did
Right.
30 years prior to that.
Right.
I can't see that picture floating around forever, and they've had the same caption underneath it that it's him, and
Sure.
it not being him. Why
Right.
didn't they say something about it then? The picture is notoriously in probably not everyone, but a lot of Chicago restaurants, especially steakhouses and stuff
Yes.
like that.
But they don't say in these restaurants who the players are, who the people
Oh,
are.
no, it's underneath the.
Oh, it is?
Yeah,
Okay, I
the
didn't
one
realize that.
particular one that I'm talking about was in the Chop House.
Gotcha. Yes,
And,
I remember you mentioned that.
And right
Yes.
underneath it is they tell who everybody is.
I
Jack
see.
McGurn,
Right.
Lefty Lou, Al. That little girl he's got his arm around, and she just goes as unnamed. They don't know who she is.
Mm-hmm.
Probably a niece or daughter of somebody, I imagine.
I'm sure there's been the experts have figured it out.
Right.
Well, so anything else?
Not that I wanted to give my picks for this week.
Oh yeah, sure, that
you
would
don't
be
mind.
great. No, gosh, no.
And,
How did you do last week? Or you just said bet the under or the over? Which was it?
I forget. I left my sheet at home. I got to keep my picks with me. So I must have did bad because sometimes I don't like to know. If it was good, I'd have them
I
in front of
see.
me here. So selfishly, I conventionally don't
Your
remember.
body and mind has some sort of a self-defense mechanism
Yeah.
that
Although I still say
erases
go against me,
information. Yes.
But this week here tonight, I like Arizona minus the 7.
Okay.
Thursday night, the Bears are playing the Packers, and I think all this talk about Aaron Rodgers, what happened to him, and if you look at his statistics, there's not a team in the league that would want him on his team, and this is a down year for him. That's how high of the bar he has set for himself, and people have set for him. I don't think I think he's not playing like it now, but I think he is the best quarterback in the league. Even though Brady is, it's a 1-1A type thing. But I like Green Bay minus the 10.5 against the Bears. The Bears just don't look like. I think I said earlier in one of our earlier telecasts that they'd be a 6-10 team. I don't even know if they'll be that this year. That'd be a stretch for them. But I like Green Bay. I like the Colts at a picket. San Fran plus 1 point. I like Kaepernick coming back. All the controversy,
Right.
or not a controversy actually, but the thing surrounding him, the kneeling down of the national anthem and all that.
Yeah.
He's finally got it. He restructured his contract because he wasn't playing, and with the product that Blaine Gabbert that Frisco had he's a bum, and I think that that the ownership didn't want him to play because it's in his contract. If he gets hurt, they'd have to guarantee X amount of millions to him, and they didn't want to do it. So he restructured his contract, which he was forced to do, but if he wants to have any career in the NFL, he's got to be able to play and showcase his talents because he's not going to be playing in Frisco anymore. They're going to get rid of him. So, but I do like him. He had a decent showing, and not good, not horrible, but decent. I like Frisco next week plus the 1, and I like New England minus the 1.5. I think that Tom Brady's going to be on a mission to just destroy every NFL team he plays.
Yes.
And I think that New England, right now, like I say, week 6 is a small sample size of everything, but I don't see anybody beating the New England Patriots. Right now, I'll give my pick for the Super Bowl. I think it's the Patriots.
Gotcha.
I don't know who's going to make it out of the NFC yet. I haven't really seen enough to know yet, but I like New England. I don't think anybody's better than them right now.
I see.
I mean, they got the best coach, and they got the best quarterback, and they just plug in guys that they play well under that system. And
Well,
that's just a credit to that team, that organization, you know.
I just want to tell everyone who's watching or who will be watching at some point, if you want to make a lot of money and gamble, first, do it legally, and secondly, bet against everything Michael just
Exactly right.
announced as what his picks are.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
How about next week? Same time,
Absolutely.
same place? Great.
Absolutely.
All right.
By then we'll know what maybe we're crowning the Cubs. By then we'll know if they're in the World Series or not. So there'll be a lot to
sure,
talk about.
sure.
You know, and we'll see who they're playing. It'll probably be Cleveland, but could be wrong. But Cub fans, don't panic yet. Don't, be concerned, but don't panic. Cubs will be all right. They're the best team in the majors.
I think you're right. All right.
Thank you very much, Joseph.
Pleasure.